Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The last few days have seen unprecedented chaos in Gulf Indian skies with the nation's dominant airline Indigo at the eye of the storm. Mass cancellations, cascading delays and scenes of stranded, frustrated passengers have exposed a crisis that goes far beyond a simple operational hiccup. While on ground the situation is limping back to normalcy, the question that is on everyone's mind is how did Indigo allow this to happen? Was it deliberate? While the government has pulled up the airline and ordered an inquiry, the aviation watchdog DGCA is awaiting response from the airline CEO on its show cause notice. But several aviation experts and industry observers have already suggested that the chaos was not a mere consequence of miscalculation, but rather a calculated tactical move by the dominant airline to arm twist the rollback of the new FTTL rules. So should the CEO or top executives of the airline face consequences for, quote, orchestrating a crisis? What do Indigo insiders say? And do the rules allow the ministry to take action against the CEO of this company? That and more is coming up. But first, let me just break down for our viewers the figures on flight cancellations over the last 5 days. So remember, it all began and became evident on Thursday itself when around 550 flights were cancelled. But of course, Friday saw that day where almost the entire country came to a standstill with 1,600 flights of Indigo alone cancelled. Remember, there were other cascading effects as well. Saturday, it came back to about 800 flights and Sunday saw another 650 added to the tally. Today, the number is being pegged at anywhere close to 500. 500 flights have still been cancelled as far as schedule is concerned. Now, even as an inquiry has been ordered, an exclusive insider revelation has rocked India's aviation industry, exposing alleged deliberate misconduct by Indigo, the nation's largest airline. CNN News18 is awaiting a response from the airline on the allegations that an Indigo pilot has made to us. So take a look at what this pilot has told us. This Indigo pilot, on conditions of anonymity, has said that the airline purposely initiated flight cancellations. He alleges that there was a bid to manipulate data to circumvent FTTL norms, and this despite pilots being ready and willing to operate flights. Despite a special clearance from the DGCA, the airline cancelled flights. And on the staff front, this insider says that there was no severe shortage. The airline only needed about 15 to 20% additional staff. But in the pilot's clear words, the safety is of bare minimum consequence in the airline Indigo. The only thing that matters for the company is profits, which is perhaps why they refused to hire the additional staff that was needed. And in one of his remarks, he said that such deliberate cancellations amount to criminal actions. Those responsible should be brought to justice. Listen in to this exclusive conversation.
When this November implementation happened because of the Honorable High Court, they started taking flight cancellation on purpose. What Indigo used this FTTL was for their benefit. First, they cancelled all type of contracts, norms, PLs availability, and everything went off. Although having special clearance from DGCA, which no other airline had, they started with, again, like I told you, they started taking cancellations to make data and make it arm twist the regulator to get rid of the FTTL. The accountable and responsible people who have brought this chaos, made so many passengers suffered, made the frontline warriors, pilots, cabin crew, ground staff suffer, even beaten up, they should be brought to justice. And not just penalty to the airline, personal penalties should be imposed on these individuals. They must be brought to justice.
So this brings us to the next big question. Can the government effect a change as far as this Indigo management is concerned? And in the eye of the storm, of course, is the CEO. Now, the DGCA, if it fails or finds the CEO's response unsatisfactory, The matter can then be escalated to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, which may in turn seek a review of the executive's MHA security clearance, a requirement for foreign nationals in key aviation roles in India. This means that MHA clearance acts as an entry gateway, and in theory, its withdrawal could prevent a foreign national from continuing in his or her position. In fact, this isn't the first time that a question like this has come up in Indian aviation industry's history. There have been a few examples that have been seen where security clearances, especially for foreign nationals, have influenced leadership decisions, delayed appointments, or have shaped management structures as well. So let's give you some of those examples. At Jet Airways, during the carrier's turbulent 2018 to 2019 period, questions were raised over the security clearance status of certain foreign executives. Public RTI proceedings and media reports indicated that clearance-related queries delayed or complicated senior-level decision-making. At AirAsia India, which began as a joint venture involving a foreign airline, several foreign nominees had to await MHA security clearance before assuming managerial roles. In some instances, operations had to proceed with interim Indian leadership until a formal clearance was granted. In pre-privatization Air India, foreign specialists proposed for key operational appointments did not join because security clearance was either delayed or not granted, requiring the airline to appoint Indian executives instead. With that background, and we have more information coming in on what, for example, parliamentary committees have said in the past, the big question on everybody's mind is, with all of this chaos and pain reigning across India, is Indigo guilty of blackmail? And if so, what action will it be executed not just on the airline but on individual managers as well? That's coming up.
अब हम इंडिगो ऑफिस ट्राई कर रहे हैं, अभी तक पैसा वापस आया नहीं है।
Today's OTP is projected around 75%, significantly up from 30% yesterday. It gives us all the confidence that step by step we're getting back.
सर, जो इंडिगो का क्राइसिस अभी देखने को मिला वो एएमएस से रिलेटेड नहीं है। इंडिगो के इंटरनल ऑपरेशंस में उनके जो क्रू रोस्टरिंग सिस्टम है, उनका जो अपना इंटरनल प्लानिंग है, उसमें गड़बड़ी के कारण ये सब हुआ है। ऑन 1st of December we had a meeting with Indigo on FTTL itself. When they required some clarifications, we have given the clarifications also with that idea, and they have not flagged this issue. So everything was running normal till then. Suddenly we have observed this on 3rd. Immediately when this was observed, the ministry came into the picture. Let me tell you that we are not taking this situation easily. We are doing an inquiry and we will take very, very strict action, not only for this situation, but also as an example. We will set an example for all the airlines. If there is any miscompliance, any non-compliance or non-adherence, for any single person, any entity or any organization or any operator functioning in this civil aviation, we will take very, very strict action so that we set an example in the industry.
Let's go across to our experts joining us. Captain C.S. Randhawa is a former pilot, former General Manager, Air India and former Deputy Chief Flight Operations Inspector at the DGCA. Sanat Kaul is former Joint Secretary of Ministry of Civil Aviation. Captain Meenu Wadia, founder president of the Federation of Indian Pilots, and Dr. Vandana Singh is Chairperson Aviation Cargo, Federation of Aviation Industry in India. I do thank you all for your time. Captain C.S. Randhawa, I'm beginning with you. Even as we await the Indigo response on the show cause notice by the DGCA, do you think there is enough evidence in public realm to categorize this as deliberate misconduct on the part of the airline?
See, first and foremost thing, from day one, Shivani, I have been saying since 2nd of December that the same points have been highlighted by the CEO on the 5th of December in his statement. it is very clear and evident that it was pre-planned that this exercise of integration of the software, of the network planning with the optimization of the crew rostering would take place from second. But they never realized that they will not be able to integrate and there'll be chaos. Because if you recollect that initially the airline stance and the media stance was they related to the weather, they related to ATC delays, FTTL, and they related to crew shortages. FIP, from the FIP, we have been insisting and saying so since beginning that this is a problem with the softwares with which the airline had planned. And today, the minister on the floor of the House in Rajya Sabha has categorically stated the same. Now, the point of issue is that you have put the whole country to ransom. And they control 67% of the stake of the domestic skies, and they have not done the job correctly and honorably. They should have, if they had a issue with it, with the software, they should have intimated the DGCA in advance. They should have intimated the passengers in advance that there is a likelihood of cancellation of flights.
Okay.
The next point, very important point is, remember, from 2nd of December till today, flights are still getting cancelled. The aircraft are lying on the ground. The crews are not detailed because they don't know which crews where and they're not able to integrate it properly. And still today, the cancellations are happening where the minister has given them clean blanket clearance on the safety issue on the CR to be held in abeyance till 10th of February. That was nothing to related to this. And now the COA himself, he has come on record on 5th and he said that this is because the problem with the software system. And he has given a date up to 15th of December to sort it out. That is why the flights are getting cancelled every day. Crews available, aircraft available. Where's the question of shortage of crew? Where's the question of FTTL issues or the CR not being able to implement?
So I want to understand, the minister in Parliament today has said, Sanat Kaul, that, you know, when we did a meeting on December 1, they did a meeting with Indigo regarding FTTL. They sought clarifications, we provided them, but they never flagged any issues. Everything was running normally, and then suddenly 2 days later, this chaos breaks out. Do you think this in itself is enough evidence to suggest that Indigo hid some of its problems either or orchestrated this entire crisis?
Well, it's very difficult to give an straight answer to that. But the issue is that this was a court decision. It's a defiance of a court decision which is taking place. It was, of course, made mandatory by DGCA. But it is not that he did it on his own. It's a court decision, and it's an international trend to have this kind of a pilot thing. So it amounts to a defiance. Now, software and lack of pilots or not lack of pilots is something which is internal to the airline. It's nothing to do with the this thing, and it has led to such a chaos that there is a reasonable ground to think in terms of whether such a monopoly situation is a good thing for the country or not. Now we don't have a monopolies commission anymore, but we have a competition commission. But somewhere or the other, one has to see how this is impacting on the whole country, on the aviation sector. And I think it's a very important issue which has to be taken into confidence without any great emotions. It should be considered what is happening just now in the country is something which is unheard of, that there's a total defiance of the orders of the...
You consider this a defiance? I'm just saying that,
It amounts to a defiance. It amounts to a defiance.
So should there be a particular penalty?
It is not my personal view. It amounts to a defiance of a court order.
So,
and court orders,
what everybody is very interested in, Mr. Kaul, is that, when you see an episode like this, the minister has said in Parliament today that we will make an example out of this incident. We will ensure that example is set. Do you think that there should be strictest of action on not just the airline, but its individual executives as well? That is the demand coming in.
This is not for me to decide. It is for the ministry to decide. But as I made a point, I mean, AT&T was a monopoly, practical monopoly in US. They broke it up. They break up monopolies because they can be harmful to the economy. Now, when air traffic controllers went on strike in around 2000, they declared essential service. The government declared essential service, and they were practically, I mean, they were about to be, they could have been put behind bars. I don't know whether it was done or not. Is airline an essential service? It is, in my view, especially when there's a monopoly. So, where does essential service end? Does it end only with public sector or private sector? You have to take a decision on this. These are serious issues. I am not talking about the particular individual. So and so was, appointed CEO, and therefore he was foreigner. That has of no relevance. I think they've been selected because they were competent, and it's for the airline to decide who's competent, who's not competent. But the issue remains: how can you have a system failing like this in defiance of a court order? And I call it defiance because it happens to be a defiance, whether it was done by mistake or by
choice is a separate issue. Okay.
Yeah, it's a separate issue.
Captain Meenu Wadia, I want to bring you in because, we have this conversation with an Indigo pilot, and, several industry experts have been telling us this. Several former pilots have been telling us this. Those who know how Indigo functions have been telling us this, that, this smells clearly of a conspiracy on their part. Their pilot is saying that they deliberately cancelled flights. They wanted to get a particular kind of data. And this insistence to not hire more when everybody else did, or everybody else figured out how much they needed for their operations, this in itself is criminal negligence.
You are right, but what you're stating is a very gross understatement. I'll put a different perspective to the whole thing. Everyone is aware of what has happened. My perspective is this episode is not a matter of delayed flights, not a matter of cancelled flights, not a matter of inconvenience to some people. Hundreds and thousands of people have not only been inconvenienced, there's a gross amount of financial strain, there's gross amount of hardship, gross amount of a lot of matters for the whole this thing. So the thing is, reading of the situation, it is a national disgrace. It's a reflection on the whole country. And this whole episode cannot be discussed as a matter of delayed flights or whatever, etc. It has to be taken seriously. And yes, what you said was offense. That is as far as what you asked about Indigo is concerned. My focus is also on the government and the DGCA. First of all, the government has given unbridled powers to the DGCA. First of all, only in this country, the DGCA happens to be a person who doesn't understand fundamentals of aviation at all. Right, not today, but right from the beginning. I have enough evidence to show for the last 50 years that the DGCA does not understand fundamentals. And to give unbridled powers to the DGCA to do what he wants and about aviation safety. So how would you expect aviation safety to improve under the hands of bureaucrats who do not understand aviation to start with? Okay. Secondly, the minister has said there's given dispensation for this FTTL. Who has the authority to give dispensation on a matter of safety? A matter of safety cannot be compromised under any circumstances. So therefore, dispensation is out of the question to start with. And a lot of evidence is available for criminal charge, and the investigation also cannot be done by bureaucrats or by the DGCA. It has to have a judicial person on the board and aviation experts to do a proper inquiry. Otherwise, it will be a total whitewash, and there will be the problem will be put under the carpet.
Okay. Dr. Vandana Singh, I'm going to come to you, but before that, let me take a quick response from Captain C.S. Randhawa on the liability on the DGCA. Do you think time has come that there should be action on DGCA chief and, of course, overhauling of this body as well? Because they have not really covered themselves in glory either by just saying that, oh, we asked them to execute it, they didn't execute it.
You see, I'll just give you a small background to it. When the airlines were not implementing the CR was published by the DGCA in January 2024, and it was supposed to come in effect. And all the airlines tried their level best not to allow the regulation to come. I'm surprised at my country that it took so much of time to be implemented. We had to knock at the doors of the Delhi High Court because we were pending for the decision by the Honorable High Court since 23, and finally, in the month of April, 7th of April, we got a court order where they categorically said, the court said that it has to be implemented. Now, again, the airlines came running, jumping to DGCA and asking that it should be implemented in stages. And in phase one was in 1st of July, and phase two, about 35% of the CR on 1st of November. Now, I fail to understand that against safety, how can you do all this? So,
no. Sir, the question also is, under DGCA's watch, how can this be allowed to happen is also the question,
this is,
right?
No way, no other country it happens. When a regulation comes and it is under the guidance of the IQ, you know, it is mandatory to have FTTL rules. And mind you, in our country, one more very intriguing thing is there, that FTTL is a limit. That is the limit. Supposing 8 hours of duty time, flight time, that is a limit. How can the airline use it for planning purposes up to the limit? You have to cut off at 7 hours, 45 minutes.
Sir, I must press on this. What is the responsibility or the accountability of the DGCA here? Why are we not seeing heads roll?
Accountability, the DGCA is supposed to do an oversight over the airlines.
Yes.
Now DGCA is shot by staff of almost 1,200 people. All the aviation sector has grown, but you do not have the competent people, and the right amount of people in DGCA, and they have not been able to fill up these posts. The aviation
so then
is
it
just
just
expanding.
Points out to a larger rot, and I think then it brings the aviation ministry into the mix as well. So
absolutely,
from day one, we've been saying the airline must absolutely, the law must come down on the airline like a ton of bricks. But there has to be some accountability and some reform maybe initiated in the DGCA and the aviation ministry because of this. Dr. Vandana Singh, I want to bring you in. Captain Vinod, Captain Meenu Wadi, I'll come back to you. You know what's even worse? There was a parliamentary panel committee on the implementation of the FTTL norms in August, which clearly said that the DGCA must monitor and enforce the updated regulations, ensure personnel feel safe, supported, train the crew in de-escalation and mental health crisis response, regularly analyze the data to gauge the FTTL rule effectiveness. But look at what's happened. Because of one airline's insistence or stubbornness, we've had the whole reform now pegged back. The minister is promising that it will have to be implemented eventually, but it has been rolled back effectively for now.
Sure. Good evening, Shivani, and thank you for having me on your show. First and foremost, we've been talking about clear abuse of dominance, clear abuse of a suffocating grip of Indigo on 2/3 of our domestic market in India. And we have seen what has happened the whole of last week and continuing as we speak with 500 flights cancelled today. So when we are looking at, what is coming out, on one side, DGCA has to have more teeth, it has to get stricter, and it has to be the real watchdog, what it is meant to be. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has to come out very, very strongly and with stringent norms and follow up why the aviation law regulations reforms are not being followed up. In this case, it's a clear misbehavior, like a spoiled child by Indigo. I've been talking about that. They are the 62% market share. They are the class toppers, and they just decide not to do their homework. And the principal is left with no choice but to say, okay, we give you this much time. Now, this is not the way business is done. This is not how airlines run. And this is not the image of our country as the third largest growing economy, soon to be, that we want to project to the entire world.
So, ma'am, do you think this foreign CEO of the company should be given the boot? The ministry should step in and just say, you failed to do your job. Competence or no competence is a separate issue on paper, but you failed to do your job, and revoke his security clearance.
Exactly. Look, ma'am, I have spoken to a couple of international channels also in the morning, and I would like to tell you, it's the total top management of Indigo. CEO definitely sitting there on the top, board of directors, who are all accountable for this sabotage. This sabotage cannot be forgotten, will not be forgiven, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation cannot let it go. No way. And one more thing I would like to state. When all of this chaos was happening, where was the what shall I say, the civic or the corporate citizen culture of Air India or the other airlines not to loot? I use the word loot
The
the
passengers,
passengers.
yes.
Why did everybody make merry at that time? That's another show cause notice I would give if I was the DGCA right now. If I was Mr. Kidwai right now, I would do that too. How is it when there was an aviation emergency, a national emergency in our country, with Indigo going like this and just stranding everybody and choke holding everybody, that why is it that Air India was also spared? Why? With
Okay.
whatever limited flights they had, why were they charging 70,000 for one way? Why?
Absolutely. No, those questions also need to be addressed. But yes, Captain Wadia, you wanted to come in very quickly.
Yes, I wanted to say that we are holding Indigo accountable to start with, but that does not absolve the DGCA and the government from its total responsibility of oversight, checking if they've passed an order. First of all, what is the feasibility of that order? Is it legal order? See, fortunately, you have today at 7:40 on your channel, Mr. Shivaraman, who was the ex-DG of India, on your channel. He will probably clarify the legal aspect of the DGCA, whether he has the authority to overrule safety issues and give moratorium on safety issues. That is very critical. So do not absolve any government official.
What
And
action,
just
ideally, do you want to see or do you wish to see on the DGCA and the Ministry of Civil Aviation?
this whole thing is a tsunami against a whole country, and it has to be taken as a criminal offense, and all involved, whether they're foreigners or Indian, doesn't matter. All involved have to be dealt with in a criminal manner.
Okay, Mr. Kaul, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, regarding DGCA, there was about, quite a few years back, about 10, 15 years back, a full proposal to have a civil aviation authority like in other parts of the world, like UK and other places. And an expert from ICAO was brought. The legal director of ICAO, who is retired, was brought in through ICAO to prepare a scheme for a civil aviation authority, which will be independent, which will have more people, they will have financial independence, they'll be able to recruit their own people, they won't have to depend on UPSC, which is now the main problem of not getting the staff. And the salary structures can be revised. And it was passed by the cabinet, it was put as a bill in the parliament, and then for some reason it was never executed, it was never made into an act. And I think that is something which has been, because the growth of civil aviation has been so good and so huge and so much that the DGCA is not able to cope with it.
Okay.
It's not able to recruit people. It's not able to, it is a subordinate office of the Ministry of Civil Aviation. So this scheme needs to be implemented straight away, immediately. It is all ready and it should be done. That's how I look at it.
So, sir,
That's the
you
only
also
way DGCA can
mentioned,
be reformed.
our guests have also mentioned, of course, this dominance that Indigo has, the treatment as first amongst equals that it has got over the years. And even there seems to be, even in this case, there was a bit of an arm twisting that the airline managed to do. So, should this opportunity be taken to break up the airline, or would that be too drastic a step, Mr. Kaul? Do we want to become the country that we start doing that?
I've made a point which does not mean only aviation sector, any sector. A dominant position is not a good, healthy sign of an economy. And therefore, one has to look into it whether in aviation, a dominant position is the best thing to happen or not the best thing to happen. As I gave an example, in telephone system in US, they broke up a fantastically good running AT&T into smaller units because they said it is dominant and it can lead to trouble.
Okay.
And
yes.
it happens elsewhere also. So it has to be taken not as an emotional issue that what has happened just now.
Okay.
But do we need dominance of this kind where more than 50% of the market share is held by one person, and something happens, you will again have a crisis in some other sphere. So dominant position in anything, and we had a monopolies commission which was dissolved made into, competition commission, they can even look at it, or they can be, amended to have a look
Because,
at this.
certainly in the business industry, the sentiment would be very negative if we start talking about breaking up large companies just because
I
they
don't
happen
think
to
it'll be
have...
negative. It's a positive thing. It's
It's a
only a few
positive thing.
people who are to be broken will probably not like it.
Okay,
Because
Captain Randhawa, you wanted to come in.
people look to good
Yes,
competition, healthy competition.
I am of the view what Mr. Kaul is saying. I concur that view because 67% stake is held by Indigo, and this will increase by the day as it comes now. At present, 91% plus stake is held by Indigo and Air India. Air India's smaller stake of 24% and Indigo 67%. It's and almost 1,000 aircraft on order by Indigo. So this country, if you do not get another airline to come, then you're asking for trouble. This will happen time and again.
Okay.
It is high time that the government intervenes and breaks up this airline into three entities, because you cannot have one giant sitting and controlling the rules and regulations and everything and take the country to ransom. That is what Indigo has done this time. And regarding what Mr. Kaul has also said, I concur that, because when in 2009 also, when I was there in DGCA, Dr. Naseem Zaidi, he had come from Montreal, and after he stepped into as the Secretary Civil Aviation, he tried his level best to make a CAA in India, which is absolutely a requirement, an essential thing to happen in this country, to have autonomy and to have the manpower. Till the time that is done, we will continue to, suffer like this in DGCA.
Dr. Vanna, final comment from you. The minister also said today we are, kind of promoting or encouraging more players to come into this industry. What more can government do in this regard? Let's say leave aside the issue of whether they're going to break up Indigo or not. What else can be done to promote more competition and healthy competition?
Firstly, I'd like to add one thing, ma'am. Along with DGCA, the Competition Commission of India plays a very big role when it comes to any kind of cartels, price fixing, or abuse of dominance. So firstly, your Competition Commission of India has to come up along with DGCA to put the class in order. Let me put it like this.
Okay.
Secondly, there is a lot that the Indian government can do, our government can do, by bringing in more FDI, by bringing in more investors, opening it up to private firms. We can try to strengthen our skies. We can give them a certain leeway on licenses, or look at infrastructure, or look at a lot of other options to make ourselves an attractive place where people want to invest. And this is the right time to invest, as the Ukraine-Russia war is coming to a closure. I'd like to say that this is the opportune time to invest.
I have to leave it at that. We are awaiting, of course, the company's response, and then what follows from there on. Inquiry also has to submit its report pretty soon. But I do thank all of our guests for joining us.